We are still breaking down the Starfield Direct that happened on June 11th, 2023, and the last few videos I know have been long, and so we're not going to do an intro, we're not going to vamp, nothing. We're just going to jump right into space flight and space combat. Let's go. Okay, diving right into it, we see this first little part here after we build our ship. It takes us into outer space and into this sequence. Of course, it's coming out of a transition. It's not seamless. That's okay. And here's what we get. I really like that. I'm not sure if that's like a pre-built kind of like intro cinematic into you being able to control your ship, but I just love the way the thrusters look here, the way there's just a little bit of dynamic kind of shifting and jarring going on, and it looks like you're kind of flying through atmosphere, like it's kind of working against your ship, even though you're not. You're in outer space. I just like the way it looks. It looks a lot more dynamic and kind of rigid than we've seen before. I think it looks good. And here is where we are in our cockpit and we kind of get into the flight section. We see a few different animations where our characters kind of like flipping levers and switches and pushing buttons. I'm unsure if this is, something that we'll have actual control over, if we'll be able to do this manually, or if it's something that's just kind of a pre-animated, little cutscene. But I think it would be cool if we were able to do these manually.
And you should feel like you're
do all these little levers and switches that he pushes. I like that. Okay, so we're going to stop right here. This is where the developer starts to talk about the ship combat. Specifically, he starts to talk about the allocation between all of the different systems and how we move our power around to kind of make the most of any given situation. Let's take a look at it. Look down here in the bottom left corner. This is our power allocation. We also have some information over here. We'll get to that later. But for now, let's look over here, the very left. So we have all of our power right here to pull from. Notice we have 8 out of 27 points left. I'm just going to refer to these as points of power. It's probably not the correct terminology, but that's what we're going to use for right now. For now, we have our weapons on the left. We have lasers, ballistics, and then EM. I'm assuming this means some sort of missile, maybe electromagnetic something, or EM, like the M is a missile. So I'm not sure here. Over here on the right, we have engines, shields, and grav drive. So again, we have 8 points left out of our power that we can allocate. So depending on what we're needing to do, he's going to go through this here in a second. We can increase our lasers, we can increase our ballistics, and you see within each of these, we have a certain amount, like a capacity. So we have a lot of capacity left for grav, because it can go all the way up, our grav drive. We just have 1, 2, 3 allocations left for shield. 1, 2, 3 allocations left for shield right here, sorry. And then same for engine. And then it looks like our EM is maxed out already. Our ballistics have a lot more that we can use, and our lasers just have a couple more. So without getting too deep into that right now, let's just kind of move forward and see what he has to say, and it'll make more sense as we walk through it. I think the ship combat looks great. There's a few things that they did that are kind of nuanced to make it feel a bit heavier, a bit more exciting. It looked okay in the first trailer and the first showcase that we had last June. I don't think it looked bad, but there's something about it for this year that looks a lot better. I think the lasers, the missiles, you kind of look here, right through there and right through here. You'll notice that there's kind of different hues and different colors kind of within there. Of different spectrums of color and light going through there. That it just kind of gives it a dynamic sense to it that makes it feel more powerful, more chaotic, more dynamic. And I think that adds to the energy that your ship combat is going to have. Especially we get a great look later on, kind of towards the end of this section, where there's lots of combat going on. There's lots of missiles and lots of lasers being fired, and it looks like it's going to feel great. So I'm excited for that. But for now, let's keep moving forward.
It's a complex dance between your piloting skills and our power allocation.
Okay, so here's a closer look at this stuff, kind of exactly what we said earlier. Here they have, instead of EM, they have MSL for missile. Makes it make sense just a little bit more. These are kind of all different balanced here, but it's the same thing. Lasers, ballistics, missiles, engines, shields, grav drive. Again, here you can see the capacity a little bit more, where these are kind of grayed out, but as you put points in there, they'll start to fill up and be blue. And the system that you have selected will kind of be highlighted in like this this yellowish color, or this, I don't know if it's yellow or kind of an off-white. Okay, so notice when he says boosting power to your engines makes your ship go faster. Okay, that makes sense, right? So notice when he puts these points in here, you kind of have to look through this, you know, this blur and this kind of color that they have on the background. But notice right here, look right there, and you're going to start to see these blue dots right in there start to kind of grow out. Take a look at that as I play through. Watch this. See that? I'm going to play it again. Engines go up. That speed comes out. And then we see it a little bit better here. See how that's a lot thicker than it was, and your speed is also going up. Simple as that.
Powering up the grav drives will shorten the amount of time it takes before you can make a jump.
Same thing here. So he is making a grav jump starting at 7.61 seconds. Notice that as he puts points into the grav drive from our allocation down here, he's going to put points in there. This is going to decrease more rapidly than just counting down. So just watch that. It goes from 7 to 1 seconds in like 2 seconds. Yep. So pretty simple, right? Not too complicated. People who are familiar with Space Sims and Elite Dangerous and Star Citizen and Everspace and all that stuff, they're familiar with this, but a lot of us aren't. And so I've played Elite Dangerous, so I'm familiar with this. I'm not good with this system in Elite Dangerous. I don't think it feels good to play. But I think that Starfield is going to figure out a way to make this a lot more accessible. Probably to play it in a more hectic, chaotic environment with lots of people shooting at you. It's going to take a little skill, but I imagine they're not going to throw that at you until, you know, you're in your 3rd or 4th or 5th system where that difficulty level increases. All right, this guy comes out of hyper drive or grav jumping, whatever, and it looks great. Let's just look at it again. See, I mean, it's a great animation for a warp, isn't it? Look right here. I think it looks really good. I'm very impressed. All right, and here we have a Crimson Fleet pirate coming at you, level 6, and looks like also they have this little icon right there, which is nice. Just a good little like visual cue for who you're fighting. Notice it also has how far away the ship is, and so as you level up your weapons specifically, you'll be able to know, okay, how far can I shoot my missiles? How far do they track? You know, will they heat seek? How far away are my lasers effective and all that? So you'll know that as you upgrade your weapons, and higher tiered weapons will be able to shoot farther, and lower tiered weapons will not be able to shoot as far. So again, you'll learn that as you're kind of going through. Also, as we get into the combat, just a few things to keep an eye on. You may have missed them the first time around, but keep an eye on your right trigger here are your lasers, and you can customize this, but I would imagine you can. But notice as you shoot your lasers, this number will go down. Then as you stop shooting, it will start to increase again. And that's where some of your power allocation comes in. The more power you have in your lasers, the quicker this is going to regenerate that laser power, and you'll be able to start shooting again. So keep note of those numbers and your ballistics over here as we get into it. And while we're at it, while we're just looking at numbers, so as he's shooting, he's hitting us, but our ship health is not going down yet. That's our hull strength, but our shield is going down. So this is our shield, this kind of wavy line around us, which is a really cool visual depiction. I like that. But notice as they shoot us, that number is going down. Let's see, back up to, see it going down 38, 36, 35, 31. Then you keep missing them, which is nice. Then he starts shooting the lasers, noticing the lasers, that number going down. And here he starts talking about the targeting control skills. I do want to note, let me just kind of notice, this is a part of the tech tree. And targeting control system, this is a first tier skill, which means you should be able to get this very early on in the game, even as soon as you wanting to spend your first skill in gameplay. There may even be a background with this skill already present. We haven't seen all of the backgrounds yet, and so there may be some sort of like spaceship focused background that has a few of these. And we know these are boost packs. We've seen those before. This is something to do with ballistics in your ship. And then this is the targeting system. And then we'll have another video breaking down all these skills. But I just wanted to note that hey, this skill, this system that he's going to show off, this isn't necessarily a very advanced system that you only get, when you're way into the game or you have to build up a lot through your RPG elements. This is something you can probably get right at the beginning of the game through a specific background, or right as you start leveling up your character and earning skill points.
Targeting control system skill will allow you to zero in on specific subsystems of the ship you target.
Okay, so let me go back just a little bit here. Notice right here, we have the option to target lock. So we hit our X button. That's going to bring us into this view. So it seems like this is actually going to lock us in. And so we're not going to have to worry as much about aiming or keeping track of this ship. It's going to lock us in. So it's going to auto lock that a little bit for us. So PAR is some sort of particle weapon. We don't know if this is a particle cannon or a particle beam, but it's some sort of particle weapon. So we can target that. We can target its missiles. We can target its engines, shields, grav drive, very similar systems to what we have, just customized, right? And then as we target them, so now it's targeting the missiles, see it automatically puts a target lock around those missiles wherever they are on the ship. And you'll notice that as he targets the particle weapons, that moves. So the missiles are right there. As he moves our target, the particle weapons are there and there. Maybe something else over here. And he automatically targets those. Here is where it gets a little interesting, because here's where he can target their shields, their shield generator. And there's only 3 notches available, so he might be able to take this out pretty quick. One thing I want to note is, I think I can say this with confidence. It's like this in a lot of other space games, and it seems to be like this in this kind of combat. Whenever you're wanting to bring down somebody's shields, you're wanting to shoot their shields down, you actually want to use some sort of laser weapon, or maybe even a particle weapon. But this is going to decrease their shields much quicker than if you were using ballistics on their shield. Your lasers are going to cut through that a lot quicker. And then once you're done with the shield and you have all that down, then you usually switch to ballistics, and that's going to pierce through the hull, pierce through the armor more effectively than what lasers could. And of course you have missiles as well, and they're kind of good for everything, but you want to try to save your missiles usually after you have the shields down with lasers, and then a couple, 3, 4 missiles, depending on the strength of the ship, should get you done. Should get it done. See, the shields are gone. We can see that blue line that was up here on the top is gone, and we just have the hull strength down here on the bottom. And you notice I'll go back a little bit. He fires this missile out. That's cool. We can see this missile just for a little bitty frame right here. And then he shoots that off. Choo, there it is, still going. And it knocks his health down pretty quickly, then just using your ballistics to finish him off. And then, of course, kablooey. And you can loot them. So here, you can get, looks like, resources from the ship, and then maybe ship parts, maybe for ship crafting, maybe later on. And then some more parts there.
You can loot the remains from your cockpit. You can always turn any ship that engages you into scrap. But you can also take a more personal approach by docking with the enemy vessel and boarding their ship.
Okay, one thing I noticed here is keep an eye on, I'm asking you to keep an eye on a lot of numbers. Keep an eye on this number right here. It's going to go down to about 200 meters, and you'll start to see this X kind of fill up, and that is when you'll be able to dock. So it looks like in this scenario, you're able to dock with this ship, which its engines are gone, looks like, and it's almost dead. I have too many green arrows on the screen right now. But its shields are quickly regenerating. And so this may be a part of this little kind of mini game to dock, is that, okay, you have to get close enough to the ship once it's disabled, and you have to get there before its shields regenerate, or they're going to take off again, or they fix their engines, or whatever. So there could be some variables here and some nuance to getting on a dock. You might not just be able to, shoot it to where it's almost dead and then go, take your time getting on it. There may be some time sensitive elements here. We'll see. Let's take a look. So as I go forward, I'm just gonna, so watch that number as it goes down to almost 200, and you see how that X is kind of filling up, and then it says, okay, we can dock right about when we get to 200 meters, and that's when we can lock on and dock to it. Does our sequence, and then we go in and finish up whoever's on the ship. That's an awesome gun, whatever that is. These guys were level 50. Did you see that? These guys were like level 50 Ecliptic Commandos or Commandant. And man, it's one shot each. So I want that energy shotgun, whatever that was. That was awesome.
Once you've taken control of an enemy ship, it's yours. Add it to your fleet and retrieve it at any spaceport.
Okay, so this is one of the parts in the direct that confirms we can actually have several spaceships. He says that once we steal it, it's ours. We can add it to our fleet and pick it up at any spaceport. Okay, so this is the one that we just stole, and notice that the hull is already at 50% and the shield is already at 50% as well. Right? We just got through almost demolishing this ship so that we could steal it. So it's not automatically going to have, okay, now you have full energy and full health and full shields. You will have to repair it, but it does look like there is a repair mechanic. So this is probably something that's going to use resources. If you don't have those resources, then it might be best to send it back to a spaceport to repair later whenever you get those parts. But just something I wanted to note.
Ship, it's yours. Add it to your fleet and retrieve it at any spaceport.
And here we see that this character that they've rolled has up to 9 ships. I think I saw earlier where maybe this goes up to 13 or 14. I don't know if there's a cap on this. I don't think we've heard that there is. So you may be able to collect as many as your heart desires, and that is awesome. This guy, the Ecliptic Claymore, looks like a big guy. Looks awesome. Look at its engines. Yes, sir. It's shields, grav drive, particle weapons, missiles, ballistics. Yes. And look at its value. All right, so I imagine this is probably not going to be just hanging out for you to steal with some low-level enemies on it. This is most likely going to be in a high-level space, a high-level area of the galaxy that we can't get to until later on when we've kind of earned that privilege. But this looks to be like a very nice ship. It has 6 crew spaces. Lots of other stuff down here that we won't go through right now, but I'm very impressed. This ship looks great.
But space is way more than fighting for your life. Just like when you're planetside, there are plenty of sights to see and stops to make on the way to your next adventure.
Okay, here's where we get our first look at the star yards. These are huge, massive space stations, and they kind of seem like they're going to act kind of like cities or towns or villages, maybe smaller versions of what we could expect in places like New Atlantis or Neon. A little bit of trading, maybe some quests, some NPCs to interact with, some places to buy ships, but maybe not quite as exhaustive or robust as what our cities are going to be.
Massive star yards. Walk the halls, talk to the crew, maybe get talked into buying a whole new ship.
A civilian in my star yard. Let's see.
And of course, everybody loves this guy because of his face tattoos. His mama said he would never amount to anything with a face tattoo. Look at him now. Selling spaceships in a star yard. Nice.
About getting you a proper ship, one worthy of you.
Maybe you'll dock with a gigantic battleship like the UC Vigilance.
For all of you pirates out there that are just wanting to pirate and destroy everything you come in contact with, this guy has some help, right? So I'm sure he has some firepower of his own, but he's also got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, at least 5 other ships kind of keeping him company. And so you may want to think twice before coming in guns blazing to a big guy like this.
UC Vigilance.
We've seen this guy before. We know him. And so this is probably where we come back for a lot of our quests in this specific quest line.
Or rub elbows with the galaxy's wealthy elite on a cruise ship fit for the stars.
I thought this was really cool and a nice like Bethesda touch. Like amongst all these things that you're having to deal with, that the galaxy is at risk and there's pirates everywhere and you need to find this artifact to figure something out and what happened to Earth. There's also a cruise ship that you can hang out on and relax on because you've earned it. So I thought that was a really nice Bethesda touch.
There are plenty of personal encounters to be had as well. You can hail any ship you come across to trade, swap info, or maybe even commit an act of piracy. Yes, sir, gamer.
I really love this system. I love it that any ship you come in contact with. So if you warp to a part of the galaxy, a new system, and you see a few ships flying around, you could go fly over to them and potentially say, hey, I want to trade with you. And maybe you might come in contact with some people who maybe don't have the morals that other traders might have, and things that you've stolen or contraband, maybe a little bit of Aurora, you could get rid of before you try to dock with New Atlantis or something like that. I think that's a really cool move. And also, depending on how inventory works, if you're needing to sell some extra parts to get some money to buy a new ship or something like that, there's never going to be a trader very far away, since you always kind of have access to that through these other ships. Also, I think it's really cool that you can engage in piracy with pretty much anyone. One of the questions I have is, okay, let's say you are a level 10 And what if this ship was a level 50? Do they automatically say like, oh yeah, come on, try it out? Or what if you are level 50 and they're level 10? Is there any kind of like intimidation factor there where they're like, okay, yes, please take whatever we have. We don't want any trouble. And then you don't even have to engage them. You don't even have to fight. That would be really interesting. And then this also might be a good opportunity to find little side quests or little hints of places you could go in that system that you may not know about otherwise. Maybe they can tell you, well, actually on this ice giant, you know, over here next to the gas giant, it has something interesting on it. Maybe you should go check it out. And maybe that's a quest to find a really cool weapon, and maybe it's a trap that they're sending everybody there and they're setting up an ambush for you. Again, totally Bethesda things could happen. The possibilities are endless.
Or maybe even commit an act of piracy.
Let's do this.
When I'm playing, I generally go crazy. I definitely go like the more piracy routes. I want to take over ships. I'm going to board ships. I'm like, this is now mine. I steal all the sandwiches. And
This girl knows what's up. Stealing all the sandwiches. She knows what's up. Also, 75 credits for a sandwich.
steal all the sandwiches and put them.
Oh, this was so great. This is a great like laugh out loud moment in the direct, right? It's like they get it. They get it.
Taking things from people as quickly as possible.
Some strangers.
I love this transition from the sandwich to the planet. I mean, it's just so good. It's like this 80s music montage transition. Anyway.
Some strangers might be looking for a little human connection in the darkness of space.
Hello, stranger. I just finished cooking up some food. If you want to come on over, just pop on by.
Okay, so we have Grandma here. I know I initially wondered if this was Skyrim Grandma, Shirley Curry, and the voice, I don't think it sounds like her from what I've heard of her in interviews, but it could be kind of an homage to her. We saw that in the character creator as well.
Some of the best moments are the ones you discover on your own. The thing I love most about Starfield is that it is
So just real quick, this is kind of a parenthetical thought, but I believe this is a ship's gravity drive or artificial gravity mechanism powering down. And Ryan McCaffrey from IGN mentioned that he got to play a mission where he was on a ship and the gravity kept going like on and off, and it kind of made for a dynamic gameplay environment. So I wonder if this is that same mission. It just kind of caught my eye. Anyway, in parentheses.
The thing I love most about Starfield is that it is a Bethesda game through and through. It's really about going to strange new places, meeting interesting people, and getting sidetracked on zany adventures. Then, realizing 2 hours later that you're involved in a completely new story.
You're human. We thought we were the only ones to leave Earth.
That DNA is so present here. It's in our random...
Okay, so again, this is just another example of another ship communicating with you, and this one happens to be that party cruise that they referred to earlier, and you have the option again. I'll join the party, or no thanks, or asking some more questions. It doesn't look like you get to pirate this right from the get-go, or maybe you don't even have that skill in this playthrough. Maybe that's why. But again, I just kind of wonder, okay, this could be the cruise, or this could be like a total trap, right? So it's very interesting.
Counters, it's in our handcrafted quests, and it feels so cool to play it and just make...
Okay, so here is a good look at our star map, and this even has some visual improvements as well. Look at kind of the glow around our main stars here, our main star systems. I don't think that was present in the first one. And we also have this little guy over here as we're kind of plotting our routes, we have fuel consumption. So we'll know if we can get there or not, or if we're going to have to stop halfway and fuel up.
Your own path in this universe. There are over 1,000 planets out there.
And even here, I don't believe we saw all these gravity lines in the first one. Did we? I'll have to go back and check, but you see all these kind of squiggly lines going through here? I don't think those were in the initial star map system view like this. I'll have to go back and double check, but I don't think they were.
There are over 1,000 planets out there. Just wait. Out there, just waiting for you to visit.
Again, I love these animations where it just looks like the ship is like really exerting itself.
We want you to feel
like those thrusters are really burning instead of just kind of floating through space. Like it's really trying to get somewhere. I just think it's a nice little touch. Just a little thing, but I think it adds a lot.
Explorers. Breaking ground on new planets, exploring every inch of a mostly untouched galaxy. Like
Again, we have this little animation down here where he's kind of flipping switches and turning knobs. I really like that. I hope that we get to do a little bit of that. That would be so cool. And it's not just like an animation.
Galaxy. We want you to feel hopeful. We want you to feel this sense of awe and wonder. And sometimes a little fear.
Oh, I love this. Oh, it looks so good.
Giving you a massive playground and a ton of
Okay, let's go back. That was one of my favorite, like, 2 shots of the whole direct.
wonder. And sometimes
Where you have all these missiles firing at you, all these lasers. So again, just look at all this stuff happening everywhere. Everybody's firing lasers at you and ballistics and missiles. And like you warped into something and you should not have been there. This is crazy. Again, this is your shields are going to go down real quick, and then here I think is a good example of like when you would want to like put as much as you can in shields and then put the rest into grav drive and get out of there as soon as you can.
we're giving you a massive playground and a ton of
But at the same time, like I would want to get to the level, like both in the RPG elements and the leveling up in my ship, and also just to the skill level, like me as a player. I would like to get to the level where I could handle something like that because it looks so fun.
toys and just setting you free.
Whoa, whatever that was, it gave you 165 XP. That's the biggest I've seen so far. This was a level 20 Crimson Fleet White. Interesting. Okay. Yeah, that's the biggest XP I've seen yet. Big missile to finish up. That was awesome. Just flying through the wreckage like a boss. So the last thing we do have to talk about ship flight and combat is actually the landing and takeoff animation. So here's a good one. We'll watch another one too. But notice on the first one back last June, Bethesda got a lot of flack about like just the bad smoke animation, right? Said it looked too, I don't know what people's problem was. It didn't look great, but it was kind of hard to articulate what was wrong with it. It looked too cartoony or something, or just unfinished. Now, the smoke looks good. And as the thrusters get closer to the ground, just kind of keep your eye right here, it's actually going to look as if, a torch was right on the ground, like how that looks. See, kind of sparking there, kind of just backfiring a little bit. Yeah, it looks good. It looks good. Okay, let's find, there was another clip that I wanted to look at real quick. I think it was like right at the beginning of where they're landing into. Yeah, right here. Okay. Okay, right here. So I think this looks so much better than it did in last June. So much better. Well done. Well done, Bethesda. Hey, thank you so much for watching today. I hope that you were entertained. I hope that you learned something. If you would, before you go, hit that like button. That helps us out, helps other people know where to find great Starfield content. And if you're new here, consider subscribing. We'd love for you to join us on the Starfield journey. Join us on Discord as well. If you like to hang out on Discord, we got a great server over there. And if you would like to support the channel in any way, lots of people love to support this channel. That's super cool. You can do that on Patreon and also through YouTube channel memberships. Those links are all in the description. Thank you again to all of our patrons and YouTube channel members who make the content on this channel just increase in quality, and they encourage me, they support me, and they kind of help me produce the content, kind of decide where to go. If you want to be in that inner circle, that's a great way to do it. I really appreciate you all. For now, may you find wonder as you journey through the stars. Hopefully we got out of here in under 40 minutes. I'll see what the time is after I get through editing this.